How's it going, guys? Coming at you with a review of the Vortex Viper PST scopes. We have two examples of the PST here. We have the 2.5 to 10 by 44, and then we have the 4 to 16 by 50 millimeter objectives. Two PSTs, and then we have, for comparison purposes, we have the Vortex Diamondback, which is kind of their mid-range scope that Vortex puts out. There is one other grade that's above the Viper, and that is the Razor series, and they're a lot more expensive. They're kind of almost double the price as these Vipers. But the reason why I like the Viper is because it's such a heavy feature-laden scope, and it adds a ton of value. And for the price, I don't think you can get as many features on a scope as you can the Viper series from Vortex. I don't get any compensation from Vortex for doing this review. This is just because I really appreciate these scopes. I like them a lot. Like I said, though, the Diamondback is here to give us a little bit of a comparison between the Viper and their mid-range scope. The Diamondback also there's a step down. Vortex also makes their Crossfire 2 series, which I'm not really a big fan of, but there are the Crossfire 2 series below the Diamondback series as well. So there's 4 different tiers of scope qualities. But what we're going to do is, if you guys are like me, you like to have a lot of the nitty-gritty details before you go out and spend your hard-earned money. And so what I'm hoping to do is really do a quality review for you guys so that you can see the details, the features, all those things that the Vortex line offers in their Viper PSTs specifically, so that you guys can make a real good educated decision on what you want to buy. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try to stay on task and not get too far off the subject when we do this review. There is a lot to talk about, and like I said, I'm going to go through the nitty-gritty details and get you guys as much information as I can. But let's go ahead and jump in, and we'll talk about some of the features that the PST line offers. First off, let's go ahead and talk about finish on the scope. The Viper series, the anodizing is really smooth, kind of a deep black color, really nice anodizing. It's all aluminum, aircraft grade aluminum. It's got the argon gas purged interior, O-ring sealed, waterproof. They do say that the Viper series is shockproof, and so you're able to put it on a higher recoiling gun without having problems with a malfunctioning scope. So they do say it's shockproof. But the anodizing, if you compare it to the Diamondback, is definitely, the Diamondback is not as a rich look as well as feel as the Viper series. And if you go down to the Crossfire 2 series, you'll actually even see that it's a lot rougher than the Diamondback. The Diamondback's more refined, and then if you jump up to the Viper series, it's even better. And then the Razor series, you have a little bit of a different color anodizing, and it's fine as well. I think it's very similar to the Viper, but it is a step up from that as well. The construction of the Viper series, the PST specifically, are all 30 millimeter tubes. Which is nice. It aids in light transference. It also aids in internal adjustments, and so they all come with 30 millimeter tubes as well. When we talk lenses, the PST series also touts fully multi-coated lenses, and so what that does is the front and the back of each lens in the Viper series is all anti-reflective coating. And what that does is it aids in maximum light transference, and it keeps the glare and the refraction down on each one of the lenses, and so you get the maximum light transference. The PSTs, or the Viper PSTs, also give you what's called an Armor Tech coating on the outside lenses, and so it aids in protection against dust and dirt and against scratches. So it's a little bit harder coating that's on the outside of the lenses as well, which is really nice. When we're talking lenses, we need to talk reticles. The reticles on the PST, these both sport the EBR1 reticle, which is gives you subtensions, and I'll put on the screen what this reticle looks like. But what it does is it gives you a 20 MOA subtension on each one of these scopes, and it gives you it gives you the ability to hold over precise shots. So you're able to precisely hold over if you know your drop datas. You can do a precise holdover, and that makes a huge difference. And that is one of the reasons why I switched to the Vortex Vipers, is because of this particular reticle. It's an excellent reticle. And on my hunting rifle here, the 308, I used to have a 4.5 to 14 Leupold VX3 on here with the target turrets. And the reason why I switched from that was because that particular scope just had a fine duplex reticle, and it didn't have any drop or tactical reticle in it. And I attribute that to missing the biggest buck that I've ever seen out hunting, because I was too busy adjusting the turret instead of just doing the holdover. I already knew the value, I had to adjust the turret though, and that amount of time lost me that deer. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to switch over to more of a tactical reticle that gives me a little bit more precise holdovers. So that's a really nice feature. The reticle is also etched, meaning that there's no wires inside of the reticle, so you don't have to worry about wires being over tight and breaking. It's all etched glass, so it's going to stay there. It's not going to break. That kind of thing is really nice to have. The reticle is also illuminated. We have our illumination knobs right here, and there's values on the knob. The higher values are for low light shooting. You can't really see them during the day in direct sunlight too much, but that's not a big deal. As long as you can see the reticle, you're great. But for hunters, you know, those of you that are going to be hunting early hours or late hours towards dusk, those low light settings can definitely come to an advantage. Also, night shooting. I have not done any night shooting with this, but night shooting will also give you a tactical advantage with that illuminated reticle. The lower levels on the adjustment dial for the illumination are meant for night vision capable scopes. Alright, so let's go ahead and move on to the turrets. The turrets on the PST are excellent. The labeling on it is very bright. It's easy to see. On top we have what's called a radius bar, which gives you a tactile as well as a visual confirmation as to where your dial is at any given time, and it allows you to kind of just do a quick acquisition to tell you where it's at. The actual adjustment of the scope is very tactile as well. It's very precise. The clicks are precise. You don't have to worry about doing 2 clicks at once without knowing. The only thing I wish that they were a little bit more audible as well. They're kind of subdued in their audible click, and so I wish they had a little bit more audible click, but it's really kind of a minor thing. One rotation of the turret gives you 12 MOA in adjustment. I'm a little annoyed at that. I wish that they would have gone to a full 15 MOA adjustment in one rotation. It just makes it a little easier to do the math. You can go 15, 30, 45 instead of going from 12, 24, 36. It's just easier to do more of the math on a 15 MOA reticle dial. But it's just a minor thing again, and not that big a deal, but it is a 12 MOA adjustment in one rotation. The internal adjustments on these two scopes, on the 2.5 to 10, we're looking at 86 MOA internal travel, and on the 4 to 16 we're looking at 75 MOA internal travel. And so we have a little bit more with the 2.5 to 10, but they are both excellent travel internally, so you should be able to shoot really long range even with inefficient loads. You should still be able to do that. Another awesome feature with the turret on the PST is that you can undo these screws here, remove the turret, and then what you do is you place these brass shims on the inside underneath the adjustment, and it allows you to have a zero stop turret. Meaning that if you're dialing up to, let's say, like 40 MOA, and you need to come back down to your 100 yard zero, you just turn the knob as far as you can go, it'll stop, and then you can go back up to your zero mark, and that is going to be your 100 yard zero. So it makes it easy. There's really no guessing after that. I have, on the Leupold that I had previously, I actually left it adjusted up a full rotation thinking that it was zeroed, and I had problems with it because I just didn't know where I was hitting after that. And so these give you a lot more confidence to know that you've actually reached back to your zero, which is really nice. Now the 4 to 16 has a side focus or side parallax here on the scope, and it adjusts from 50 yards all the way to out to infinity, and so it's really nice. Again, you have that nice knurling that's on the turrets as well, and it really makes it nice for easy, quick focus adjustment. We also have an objective focus adjustment here at the very front of the scope, or the very rear of the scope, which makes it easy for you to focus the scope very quickly to your eyes. Something that each one of the Viper PSTs come with is your sunshades. And a lot of people say the sunshades are unnecessary, but I'll tell you what, we were out hunting this last year for mule deer, for bucks, and a couple doe came out of the trees at about 800 yards away, and I sat down behind my rifle, and the sun was directly pretty much right to my left, and I was looking about 30 degrees off from the sun, and the sunshade protected my objective lens, and I didn't get any of the glare from the sun, which I thought was incredibly valuable. I'll never take these off for hunting. I think that they're worth the extra weight, just because, especially when you're hunting, the major hunting is done, the major action is done first thing when the sun comes up and right before the sun goes down. And so the sun, a lot of times, is sitting low on the horizon, you get a lot of glare, and to me the sunshade is absolutely worth it. So it does come with each of your PST scopes. Now let's go ahead and talk about eye relief. Eye relief is incredibly important. It really determines how easily you can sit behind, or how long you can sit behind a scope without fatiguing your eyes a lot. And the eye relief on the Viper PSTs, they say, is a 4-inch eye relief. And I find it to be pretty forgiving on both of these scopes. I have noticed that on the 4 to 16 power scope, when you're all the way up to 16 power, the eye relief is not quite, it's a little bit more picky, and so it takes a little bit more positioning to get you behind the scope. But I find that just a little bit of dial down, it gives it a lot more leeway that way. But I find that I really have no problem between the 2.5, behind the 2.5 to 10. I find that the eye relief is just fine on this particular scope. Really nice, actually. If we go to the Diamondback actually, that's one of the annoyances I have with the Diamondback, is that it's really picky on its eye relief, especially at maximum magnification. There's very little leeway with it. You have to be really careful. You have to be directly behind it, right in the very spot, and it can fatigue the eyes over time for sure. But the PST is definitely more forgiving that way. A couple of little stats about the PSTs. The 4 to 16 by 50 weighs 22.4 ounces. And the 2.5 to 10 weighs 18.8 ounces. To give you guys an idea, that's pretty good. That's actually a pretty good weight to it. If you look at the equivalent, just about the equivalent scope from Night Force, which Night Force is an excellent scope, and it's more expensive. It's probably twice the price as this scope. But it's a really high quality scope. But it weighs 30 ounces. For their 3.5 to 15 by 56 weighs 30 ounces, and this weighs 22.8. So there's a huge difference. There's a half-pound difference between this scope and the equivalent Night Force. And that makes a difference when it comes to you lugging it around in the field. And that's one of the reasons why I stick with the Vortex line, is that they are a lighter scope. Now, I'm sure that there's other equivalent scopes in other companies that are very similar to the weight of the Vortex Vipers, but you know, as it stands, the scopes are very nicely weighted. One of the things I failed to mention when we're talking lenses and adjustments to the scope is that they come in both second focal and first focal plane. I kind of stick with the second focal plane. The first focal planes are definitely more expensive. You can add a couple, almost $200 to $300 on each one of these scope prices for first focal plane. And to me, I don't think it's worth it. I think second focal plane does just fine. If you're going to be doing ranging with your reticle, the first focal plane definitely is nicer that way. But I don't really do any of that. I do mostly laser range finding, and so I don't really need to worry about that too much. And you can still range with a second focal plane. It's just a little bit harder. The adjustment ring on the Magnification is also really nice. It's firm but not too heavy, and it also has detents when it comes to your different magnification settings. So we've got a 3 to 3.3, 2.5 all the way to the bottom. It also gives you the number on which you can multiply your reticle subtensions as well. Very nice. This is the packaging that the Vortex Viper PSTs come in. This is the 4 to 16, and this is the 2.5 to 10. Let's go ahead and open up the 2.5 to 10. Each one of your Vortex scopes comes with a really nice lens cloth. It's nice microfiber. The ones that come with the Diamondback are not quite as good, or the Crossfires are not quite as good. But the Viper series comes with a really nice microfiber cloth for cleaning lenses. It also comes with a pin. I'll take it out so you guys can see it. It also comes with a nice pin as well, and then it also comes with your shims. It also comes with your shims, so you can shim your turret, as well as different wrenches so that you can adjust various different things on it as well. Each scope also comes with a set of lens covers as well. They're just pretty much your standard fare lens covers as well. I pretty much run the Butler Creek flip-up covers with all my scopes, and so I think that those are a lot nicer to use in the field. But that's the packaging that each of the Vipers come with. The price tested was about $500 and about $600. So really, they weren't too super expensive, $500 to $600 for both of these. I was able to get a really good price through a local dealer, and so my the price may vary elsewhere. They run, I think, between $5.99 and $6.99 for these scopes, probably on Optics Planet or something like that. But you can check different prices around. But for the most part, you're looking right around the $500, $600, $700 range for these scopes. In contrast, the Diamondback, which is the 4 to 12, is actually, I got this one for $175. So it's definitely a cheaper scope, but you're not getting to this. You're not even getting close to the same amount of quality and features that you get with the Viper PSTs. One of the things that's super important, especially for those of you guys that are going to be using the turrets to shoot long range, is that you need to have reliability and accuracy with those turrets. You need to be able to adjust up to 15 MOA and know that it's going to be a true 15 MOA adjustment, so that you know that your shot's going to go on target. I have run the heck out of both of these over the last year or so. I probably shot more with the 2.5 to 10 by 44, and I have found zero problems with my adjustments with these scopes. With these turrets at all. They return back to zero reliably. They adjust to true MOA, and I've really had no problem at all with running these with these turrets. No problem. So the only thing that I can't really speak to is the longevity of the springs inside the turret. Vortex says that they use premium quality springs, and that there shouldn't be a problem for long-term reliability. But you know, the Viper hasn't been around for a really long time in its current form, and so you know, time will tell as to how reliable the turrets will be. But from what I can see, I don't see it being a huge issue at all, and I think that we'll have pretty good reliability over time. One of the things about Vortex is they have a really excellent warranty program. It's transferable throughout the lifetime of the scope, and I've actually had a crossfire that broke. The reticle broke on me, and they replaced the scope with no problem whatsoever. Returned brand new scope with all the packaging, everything with it. So it was painless. It was absolutely awesome. So my experience with the Vortex customer service is absolutely excellent. That is my review of the Vortex Viper PST series scopes. Just excellent scopes. I really think that you're going to be hard pressed to really to beat these scopes for the price. And I know that you know, optics are super expensive, but you know, going with an optic that you know you can trust and rely on is a huge thing. and I really recommend the PSTs. So anyway, guys, hopefully you found that interesting. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below. If you guys have had experience with the PSTs, hit us up with a comment. Let us know your experience with them, good or bad, because it's always nice to be able to have extra data points to add into the process when we go to purchase and to rely on our optics. So anyway, guys, also don't forget to share the video with your friends, and like if you do like what you see. It does help the video out, it does help our channel grow, and it helps us to do more reviews just like this in the future for you. But as always, guys, thanks very much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video. See ya. When I pulled out a couple rifles, and I kind of got thinking about the idea between a magnified and a non-magnified optic for your fighting rifles. And so I thought I would throw a couple out here for you and just talk a little bit about the differences between the two. What I have before you is I have the Smith & Wesson MP15, and on top of that is the EOTech 552. This EOTech is the AA version, and it also has night vision capability. And then above that, we have the Project SPR, which if you guys are new to my channel, I've done a whole series on the build process and functionality process of the